Let's take item 2, school bus safety.
Wonderful. Thank you, Madam Chair. Members, I'm here to present SB 1072, which protects children traveling to and from schools by establishing a safe pupil transportation procedure to help prevent children from being left on a school bus unattended. While school buses are a safe way to get to and from school for millions of students across our nation, for students impacted by intellectual and developmental disabilities, school bus travel can often be more challenging. Unloading a school bus is the most dangerous time for students and can be a matter of life and death. Children left unattended on a bus may be subject to extreme cold or hot conditions, causing injury, trauma, or even death. In a disturbing number of cases, children many with special needs who are nonverbal or have fallen asleep have been mistakenly left on a parked bus unattended and found hours later. These stories come from all across our nation, and many of these stories are here from California. Just to share a few, in Goleta, California, a 4-year-old boy with special needs was left alone in a bus for hours. In Thermal, California, a child with special needs was left on a school bus until he was found by the next driver. In Orange County, a nonverbal teenager with autism was left on a school bus for 6 hours. In San Diego, a special needs girl was never dropped off at her school site, and nobody noticed she was still on the bus until the next driver showed up for work and found her. Tragically, in my district, last year in September, Paul Lee, a special needs student, was recently passed away that day when he was left inside of a school bus on a hot day in the city of Whittier. Last week, his family came here and testified in the Transportation Committee on their loss and the need for this bill to prevent another heartbreaking tragedy. We believe a significant number of these cases go unreported when they do not result in what they call a noticeable harm to a child. Therefore, it is likely that there are actually more of these children left behind on buses, but we are not aware of them. To prevent future tragedies, SB 1072 specifically requires that all public and private buses that transport children to be equipped with a child safety alarm system designed to require that the driver walk to the back of the bus to deactivate the system, thus making sure that the bus is empty. This bill also directed the school district establish a safety protocol and safety procedure for bus drivers to follow to ensure that the driver checks the back of the bus at the end of their route, and that this protocol be a part of their annual renewal training. It also adds a reporting requirement to the DMV to be notified if a child has been left behind so that the DMV can take appropriate action. With me here today, we have supporters that are going to speak in favor. We'll start with our Dr. April Lopez, who is a chair of the State Council of Developmental Disabilities, and her daughter, Ava Dominguez, who rides a school bus.
Please join us at the table.
Let me just do, for purpose of demonstration, this is one of the typical devices that can be used. It costs about $150. This will be located in the back of the bus, so when the driver turns off the engine or lets the door out, let all the kids out, this device begins to start beeping in a very low beeping sound, and then in about 2 minutes later, if the bus driver never goes to the back of the bus to deactivate it, the alarm will go off in the bus. The horn, the lights, the sirens, everything go off in the bus until somebody actually goes to the back of the bus and actually deactivates it and makes sure that the bus is empty on their way out. This is just for demonstration.
Okay. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. In support of the bill.
Good morning, Senator Liu. It is morning, isn't it? No, it's not noon yet, I don't think. And good morning, all of you, and thank you for allowing me to be here today to speak. And my name is April Lopez, and I'm the chair of the State Council on Intellectual and Developmental Disabilities for the state of California. The State Council is proud to be a sponsor of 1072 and is grateful to Senator Mendoza for his leadership on this bill. The State Council I'm sure many of you know, is established to ensure that individuals with intellectual and developmental disabilities and their families participate in planning, receipt of services, and supports they need, which promote increased independence and inclusion and self-determination. We have 31 members appointed by the governor, including individuals with disabilities and federally funded parties and state agencies. I said last week at a press conference on 1072 that I'm not just the chair of the state council. I am a mom of a 13-year-old daughter with a dual diagnosis of Down syndrome and autism. She was, for the most part, nonverbal up until about 10 years old. She has done fantastic in the last few years, I'm happy to say. But it's been an eye-opening to hear all of the frightening stories of children being left on buses. It's come to light with the tragic death of Paul Lee in Whittier. I'm married to Tom Dominguez. He's an investigator, a 30-year veteran for the Orange County Sheriff's Department. And I've had the unfortunate privilege of learning all of the near-death experiences and kiddos left or forgotten on buses. Children and intellectual and developmental disabilities that may be nonverbal or even asleep or not able to speak for themselves when they're abandoned on the bus. It's traumatic and dangerous, and when this happened, and we've recently seen the results are every parent's worst nightmare, like the Lee family. I want to share a personal experience. Every year when the bus picks up my daughter, who's been riding the bus for 11 years, they forget to pick her up from school. The first couple years, I call and pitch a fit. But I always, on that first day of school, follow the bus. There's lots of things that parents with disabled children fear. Sometimes I fear that there's a male bus driver. Sometimes the person isn't very talkative. There's all those things that we perceive in our head, trying to figure out if it's a good fit. I follow the bus to the school, make sure she gets there, and then when she's ready to come home, I stay far behind to make sure she's picked up. So it never fails, at least once a year, because there's 2 times in between the term of school. It never fails that they forget her, and oftentimes I'll call transportation when I'm there at the school, and I'll say, hey, you forgot my daughter. And they apologize, and they'll say they're going to send someone out, and I say, don't worry, I got this, and we'll do it again tomorrow. I'm fortunate because I have the resources to be able to take time off from work to do that. Not every parent does. And so I believe we don't see or hear all of the stories that are going on because it's just not sexy and it's not newsworthy. And but with social media, if you go on and look and follow, you'll get a lot, you'll hear a lot, you'll learn a lot, and I'm sure most of you do. So what I say is, you all here have the ability to save a life, and one life is very important. We've seen with Paul Lee that they will have to endure this pain for the rest of their life, but it's a small price to pay for all the kiddos that are disabled out there that have no voice. I have to put my daughter on the bus, and I have no control. That's very hard for me. I'm a very controlling person. And when it comes to my daughter, I don't leave her anywhere, but I rely on the school bus and the teachers to take care of her when she's out of my hands. So I urge you, by passing 1072, the state can take the modest but significant step to make sure what happened to the Lee family never happens again. And I thank you again very much, and I thank you, Senator Mendoza, for putting this out there so that we can make a difference.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Others in support of the bill?
Good morning. My name is Ava Dominguez. I am 10 years old. I want to talk about my 13-year-old sister who was born with Down syndrome and autism. Our family is no different from any other family, except we have to plan everything ahead of time to keep Isabella safe. For example, when we go to restaurants, I make sure I am there with Isabella to help her from going to the bathroom to crossing the street, and to not burn her hand on the stove or on a hot dish. In the morning, my mom and I grab Isabella's hand and guide her to the bus. Otherwise, she will not get on the bus. We always have to wave to Isabella until the bus turns the corner. This makes Isabella very happy. My 9-year-old brother and I wait for the bus every afternoon for the bus to drop her off. Isabella is a one-of-a-kind sister, and we cannot watch over her so much, because when she leaves on that bus, we can no longer help her. We can no longer plan for her safety because we are not with her. Oftentimes, my mom follows the bus to make sure she is safe. Every night before bed, we go to bed, my mom, my dad, my sister, and my brother, and we all pray for our safety, health, and our family to stay safe. Tonight when I go to bed, I will pray that you will pass Senate Bill 1072 to keep Isabella and all the other children safe while they are riding the bus. You have the ability to be their voice. Today, I am my sister Isabella Dominguez's voice, and she is asking you to keep her safe by passing this bill. She'll be riding the school bus for at least 9 more years. Thank you for your time today, and I hope you hear my heart.
Thank you very much.
Good morning, Senator Liu and members of the committee. My name is Janelle Lewis. I also serve on the California State Council on Developmental Disabilities, where I chair the Legislative and Public Policy Committee. As you have heard, the State Council is proud to sponsor Senate Bill 1072 and is grateful for Senator Mendoza's leadership on the bill. I've been a credentialed teacher in California for over 30 years, and my work as an educational consultant has included working with many families affected by autism and other neurodevelopmental disabilities. I've also served on education task forces and work groups for the Legislative Blue Ribbon Commission on Autism and the Senate Select Committee on Autism. But first and foremost, I am here to speak with you today as a parent. I have 4 now adult children. 3 of them were diagnosed with neurodevelopmental disorders, including ADHD, nonverbal learning disorder, and autism. School buses were a big part of our lives for many years. When your children with special needs ride the school bus, you worry with every ride. You carefully build in all the right trainings and supports, but still you must trust that the adult assigned to transport them will protect them from harm and deliver them safely to their destinations, including making sure that they are not left on the bus unattended. Written transportation plans exist for some students with special needs, but with the rise in neurodevelopmental disorders like autism, ADHD, learning disabilities, and intellectual disabilities, students for whom riding the bus might be an overwhelming sensory or social experience, or who might not be able to communicate their needs, or who are very fixated on the need for known routine and become very upset by a change in that routine, or who have difficulties with memory or controlling behaviors, are riding on all school buses now. Some of these children experience states of constant anxiety and agitation and can freeze or hide or not know what to do when they should be exiting the bus. Many of these children do not have individualized education plans that include transportation components. Much money is spent on schools and education in this state. It makes sense to implement a system that will ensure that all of our children get safely to and from those schools and educational pursuits, and that no child is ever left unattended on a school bus. I urge you to support Senate Bill 1072 today. Thank you.
Thank you. Others in support of the bill? It's just Me Too's?
Enrique Roacho with the Los Angeles Unified School District in support.
Thank you.
Erica Hoffman with the California School Boards Association, also in support.
Laura Preston with the Association of California School Administrators in support.
Dr. Cameron Escovedo with the AAP California, strong support.
Dr. Megan Reeves with the California American Academy of Pediatrics in support.
Dr. Linnea Shetner with the AAP California in support. Michelle Castro with the Surface Employees International Union. We are not yet supporters. We're working with the author's office. We like the direction of the bill. We think the alarms are very important, the training are very important to ensure students are safe. Although we have an obligation also to make sure that there's due process for the drivers, we're not talking about the things that are egregious that hurt children, but sometimes innocent mistakes happen. For example, we had a substitute driver whose job actually was saved because of the alarm on the bus. He works in a school district that already have alarms in the buses. He was subbing for another driver. He was given a list of all the names of the students on that bus route because it wasn't his normal route. The second page had the directions back to the bus yard. At the very top of the second page was a student's name, but the staple was down low, so when he flipped the page, he didn't know there was that child's name on there. He returned to the bus yard, parked the bus, ran to the men's restroom, came back to lock the bus up, do his inspection, go back and set the alarm, and when he went back, he found that there was a student sleeping there. So in that instant, having the alarm there was a good thing because he had to do his inspection, go hit the alarm. But when he came back, the district attempted to terminate him because of the situation. But the good thing was the alarm actually showed that there was no effort to tamper the alarm. That was an innocent mistake, that the driver didn't know there was an extra student on there, but the alarm helped them. So we just want to make sure the bill includes some process for due process, so some of those things can get worked out before being reported to the DMV and subsequently losing your job. So I think we'll be able to get there with the author's office. We appreciate the bill, and hopefully we'll resolve it, and we'll be in support in the next committee. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair and members. Tristan Brown with the California School Employees Association. We represent over 230,000 school employees, including many bus drivers. We are, too, not yet in support of the bill. I'd like to echo the comments of our brothers and sisters in the Service Employee International Union for the same concerns that we also very much agree that these alarms will be a great service to the safety of children, but that what is and is not the immediate vicinity of a bus is a little bit ambiguous, and instances where a bus driver may need to step off for a few seconds to grab field trip slips, even a thermos of coffee, shouldn't trigger an automatic report to the DMV, and that some system for local control in order to determine if there has been a violation to a child's safety would go a long way, and that would probably bring us into support of this bill. So we just want to echo those concerns at this time. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm Ashley Lewis-Hunter from the California AAP in support of the bill.
Dr. Faisal Saab with the American Academy of Pediatrics in support of the bill.
Dr. Daniel Carlin from the American Academy of Pediatrics in support of this bill.
I'm Dr. Angelica Zen, also with the American Academy of Pediatrics, also in strong support of this bill.
Thank you very much. Any others in support of the bill? Is there opposition to the bill? You need to make some room up here.
Good morning, Chairman Liu and Education Committee. I'm Dan Eisentrager. I'm chairman of the California Bus Association Legislative Committee. I have in the past owned a local company called All West Coach Lines before selling into the Coach USA company, which is one of the biggest motor coach companies in North America. I'm currently the Western Region Vice President, oversight over 2 companies that are in California. As a background, I've been involved with transportation in California since 1966, when I passed my school bus driver's test, and I was able to drive for Las Verdes Unified School District as a school bus driver. For a 19-year-old, that was pretty good. I thought that was great, being able to earn a living while going to college and driving a school bus. It was great. Then later on, while in the state, SPAB came along from the incident in 1976, and I was able to go through, as an owner of All West Coach Lines, through the SPAB process to understand it. And I passed my SPAB license and held it for many years until about 2 years ago. On behalf of the California Bus Association, which promotes professionalism, safety, and integrity in the motor coach industry, we oppose Senate Bill 1072 as written. While the CBA supports the requirement of having a child safety alarm system in place in all yellow school buses, which are home to school, whether a contractor or a school district, we must oppose the requirement for our motor coaches used as special pupil activity buses, or as we call them, SPAB buses. Operators who perform SPAB trips, which are basically field trips, not home-to-school trips, and if you came early this morning, you'd have seen the buses out front offloading the students here to come to the Capitol. We have very fixed and strict rules that we have to follow. There are already controls in place so passengers are not left behind on the coaches because there's an adult chaperone or multiple teachers or chaperones or even parents which are required to be on board the bus. SPAB trips are unique and completely different from the home-to-school yellow bus trips. To our collective memories in our California Bus Association, none of us can remember when we've left a child behind since the law has been passed in 1977, because there is always an adult chaperone with the driver that counts the students on and off the bus. The California Department of Education SPAB training manual is very specific about the drivers and chaperones making numerous checks of the coach for students and their belongings. All SPAB trips have a chaperone, teacher, coach, authorized parent on the bus with the students. The teacher, coach, or authorized parent, chaperone has a list of all the students traveling on the trip. The driver and chaperone count the students on and off the coach each stop. Each teacher has a file with permission slips that the parent must sign to allow the student to travel to the event or activity. Members of the California Bus Association have intercity vehicles that may have multiple uses in a single day, not just a SPAB trip like the yellow home-to-school school buses. The vehicle can be on a transfer to an airport in the morning and a SPAB midday for 5 hours, and then potentially another transfer or short trip that may come available within that period of time. As well, each day a charter bus is fueled and cleaned, which is not normally done with school buses that can sit after coming back to the yard. CBSA members keep their coaches ready to go in case of emergencies and additional last-minute calls. Therefore, we are requesting an amendment for the reasons stated above, specific and only to SPAB trips, to say, anytime there is an adult chaperone present on a school pupil activity bus or SPAB trip, the bus will be deemed to have complied with this section requiring a child safety alarm system. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. Any others in opposition to the bill? Are there any questions from members? Senator Monning.
Thank you. I want to thank the author for bringing this forward. It's certainly unfortunate that we even need to go here. It would seem the part of the job description of a bus driver is to make sure there's no student left on board. But if this will save lives, I'm going to be supportive. I am curious, though, Senator Mendoza, if you might respond. It seems like a very good case was made by the representative for the Special Pupils Activity Bus Services. Sounds like a distinguished career, and you make a good case. I'm just wondering if that's something you'd be willing to consider as the bill moves forward.
Thank you, Senator Monning. I appreciate that. And, you know, first, let's take into context. These drivers that actually are contracted out by school districts to transport our students, these drivers go to the same safety protocols training as the regular school bus drivers. They have to if they're going to transport kids. And they are trained to make sure that they go to the back of the bus and make sure they follow all the same safety protocols as regular school bus drivers. When he's referring to when they go these special trips with an adult present or chaperone, not necessarily although it's going to be a teacher or someone that's actually trained like they are. These are individuals who might be volunteers that don't have the same training. They're just there just to go with the kids and get them in and out of the bus. And you have to have a checklist, check the names, and so forth. Mistakes happen. The reason this bill is here is because it was a human error that happened. So this is the same kind of errors that we're trying to avoid. He says that there's never been an incident. You know, I just came across a story just yesterday that it happened a few months ago. Now, mind you, it happened in another state. It happened in Florida, but just the same, it was a charter bus that drove off after returning from a field trip with a special needs student that fell asleep in the bus. The principal and the parents jumped in their car, chasing the bus down the street and planning to pull over to get the student out. So it does happen, it can happen. It happened before they even had the ability for the parents to, and the volunteers to kind of, okay, so where are the kids? Okay, we have them here. By the time they took count and tried to get them corralled up and coming from the restroom and so forth, they're like, oh, wait, there's one missing, then they had to go chase the bus. It's terrible. I mean, we can't, unless they're going to take time to actually train the volunteers and train the parents or anybody else that's going to go on that bus, like those bus drivers are supposed to be trained to do, incidents will continue to occur. So that's why this whole point of the mechanism to be on these buses, if these companies want to continue to have a financial relationship with our school districts and they continue to have a relationship transporting our students, they should be held to the same standard, because those are students who are obviously at times special needs and nonverbal and do need that extra protection.
Thank you. That's helpful. I don't know, through the chair, I don't know if it warrants a response from this representative, but I'd be curious to hear it because he makes a good point. Parent chaperones aren't necessarily trained.
As a parent, well, I actually have a grandson that's autistic, and he's going to be 7 years old here pretty quick. And I understand from all the testimony I've heard and very understanding. It is, as an owner of a bus company, I was very much in the training part of the SPAB side of things with the drivers that we have. We also noticed too that most of the parents that are on the bus know the children that are with them on a SPAB trip. They're with them in groups of 4s, 5s, at the most 6. And therefore, you have a collective amount of adults on the bus that are there to be able to keep track of those children. I fear more about when those children get off the bus that they stray and go somewhere. But that's why they have these additional adults on the vehicle when we're on a SPAB trip. It's not like a yellow school bus where the driver sits in the seat. The students get on and off at either a pickup stop or at a school. Our drivers are constantly getting out of the seat, helping the students off, counting, making sure. In fact, in some companies, I've noticed they even have counters now so that they make sure with the teachers. And I believe that with the chaperones and the parents, as a parent, they're more cognizant of where those children are than in a regular home-to-school yellow school bus.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair. Makes a good case, but again, I think there's probably a spectrum of the level of professionalism among and between different companies as well, but appreciate your being here today, and thank you.
Senator Vidak, did you have a question? No? No? Okay. All right. Any other questions from members? Is there a, I'll entertain a motion. The bill has been moved.
This is item number 2, SB 1072, due pass to appropriations. Liu?
Aye.
Liu, aye. Block? Hancock?
Aye.
Hancock, aye. Huff? Huff, aye. Leyva? Leyva, aye. Mendoza?
Aye.
Mendoza, aye. Monning?
Aye.
Monning, aye. Pan? Vidak? Vidak, aye. That's 7.
7, leave the roll open for our absent members. You have another bill, item 6, the Teacher's Bill of Rights, SB 1225.